Gerald Ford's life began as a struggle. He was not born Gerald Ford, he was born Leslie Lynch King Jr., and born not in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but in Omaha, Nebraska. His father was an abusive man. The birth was difficult. The circumstances surrounding the birth were even more difficult. The father was abusive toward the mother, was abusive toward the baby, was abusive toward others in the house. So his life began as a struggle.
The abuse began on actually the first night that they were married. He was an aggressive personality type, also very jealous. And actually they were in the elevator heading up to their honeymoon suite, and he thought that Dorothy kind of smiled a little bit too much at another person in the elevator. And that was actually the first time that she experienced domestic violence from her husband.
There were a number of things that he struggled with through his childhood, not least of which were those tendencies he inherited from his father, because he took with him his birth father's temper. And that was one of the early struggles his mother undertook, was to teach her child how to control his temper. And she did that through, as he recalled, ridicule. Look how stupid you look when you get angry. And by teaching him to memorize things that would help him situate himself better in life. So verses from the Bible, poetry, particularly Rudyard Kipling's If, that these things happen to you, but you have to arise above these circumstances and be a bigger man, and be a bigger man on the other side of those struggles. When Dorothy moves to Grand Rapids and her child is about 4 years old, he's known as Junior. Junior King, he would be called. In 1917, she marries a paint salesman in Grand Rapids by the name of Gerald Ford. And Junior, just over time, becomes Junior Ford. Junior Ford King, Junior King Ford, these sorts of things, until it finally, when he's in school, is situated as Gerald Ford Jr. His stepfather never adopts him. That's often told, but it's wrong. There was never a court case where he was adopted. But in every other respect, except that legal step, Gerald Ford Sr. adopted Gerald Ford Jr. and taught him how to be a man. Ford would often say that his dad was the straightest man he ever knew, had the straightest back and the straightest morals of any man he ever knew. The father, Ford Sr., would go on to have 3 children with Dorothy, half-brothers of Gerald Ford, Tom, Dick, and Jim, but there was no distinction ever made between the 4 of them. Each was equally his son.
Boy Scouts of America was something that stayed a really important part of Gerald Ford's life all throughout adulthood. He joined the Boy Scouts and was determined that he would achieve Eagle Scout status, which he did in a relatively short period of time. There was a lot of work involved to earn the badges and to do all of the activities necessary, but I feel like Boy Scouts really taught him the value of service, the value of kind of getting out of your comfort zone and learning new things and being with other people. And he did achieve Eagle Scout status, our only president to do so. And like I mentioned, he regarded Scouts as something really important to him and to other young people, and supported Scouts for the rest of his life.
He was a natural athlete. Gerald Ford Jr. played football, basketball, track and field, and swimming. He would have played baseball and probably would have been a professional baseball player had South High, where he attended high school here in Grand Rapids, had a baseball team. It did not. So he gravitated toward football. That's where he made a name for himself. But he was a starter on the basketball team his senior year. He anchored the YMCA's city swimming team also his senior year. He would go on to learn tennis and skiing and excel at both of those, but it was really football where he made a name for himself, beginning in the 8th grade, and made the all-city team, but also twice made the all-state team, and attracted the attention of the coaches at the University of Michigan and elsewhere. He was offered the opportunity to play at Harvard, at Michigan State, at Illinois, and at the University of Michigan, where his heart was. And so he followed that heart to Ann Arbor.